Welcome to Untapped for the very first time.
The very first time. This is when people just watch it and go, Spencer and Jake. No, not listening.
Well, be surprised.
Yes.
Be surprised. We've been thinking about doing this podcast. Well, I've certainly been thinking about doing this podcast for many months now. 4.5 months it's been since the idea was kind of hatched.
Yeah.
We actually, I know you know this. I'm just letting the listeners know.
I know this.
Yeah, you're aware.
I was here.
We actually got together months ago, and we hadn't seen each other in years. We'd been in touch a bit.
We'd briefly seen each other. I saw you at Houses of Parliament, wasn't it?
Houses of Parliament, yeah.
That was mad, wasn't it?
It was a bit.
Like, who the hell would invite us to the Houses of Parliament? That was great. That was for sibling support, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because obviously we both lost a brother. But I think 10 years it's been since we actually sat down and have a proper conversation.
Since we've spent proper time together.
Yeah.
And we came in here with an idea to build Untapped together. And we rolled cameras and mics for 3 hours, was it?
3 hours,
maybe three and a half hours, and just caught up. And we ended up going to these quite deep places. I wasn't really expecting to get anywhere near.
I think I definitely cried.
You know, you did, yeah.
That's pretty standard for me. But yeah, I definitely cried.
No, we went pretty deep, and had a lot of fun together as well. And I wanted to make sure that we included that at an early stage in this show, just so that you guys, the listeners, can come along for our relationship as well. You know,
I imagine people listen and go, Spencer and Jake, like, how do they know each other?
Well, I think, we're going to have incredible guests on this show, but what I think is going to be truly important to the DNA of the show is our relationship. And I wanted to share that with you now. Don't worry, it's not 3.5 hours long. We did edit it down to a more bite-sized conversation.
It's 2.5 hours long.
Yeah. But this is what happened when Jake and I saw each other again properly for the first time in 9 years.
So I actually remember it was indoor skiing, training for the jump. And I think you either didn't turn up for the first lesson or I didn't turn up for the first lesson. But then I rocked up and you was there training. And I remember you had long hair and I thought, I'm never going to get along with this guy.
Why?
I think the way I looked at you was a little bit Made in Chelsea days. So I thought you'd be very arrogant, kind of a bit posh, which you are. But that's why I love you now.
Well, hang on a sec. I wouldn't call myself arrogant.
No, you're not arrogant. Posh, I meant.
Posh?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take posh.
I thought you was arrogant.
There's not much I can do about the poshness, unfortunately.
No,
aside from trying to change my entire nature. Yeah.
So I thought we're going to have zero in common. But I reckon after getting past the smell of alcohol that you was giving off, because I think you was out the night before, I thought this guy is actually hilarious. And I found you really funny and quite... What's the word? You kind of drew me in a little bit because I was intrigued by you and kind of what you'd done. And I think the difference in us is what intrigued me a lot about you as a person. It's like, I just thought you had loads of money, you could do what you want, and you wouldn't be a nice person. And it turned out you have got a lot of money. You also was a really nice person. And your heart was very big.
Do you know that I didn't have lots of money back then? Like, obviously, my family.
You pretended you did then.
Yeah, I probably did pretend. Yeah, I probably did. I was a bit confused as to who I was back then.
How we are.
And I didn't have. I wouldn't say that I had any real purpose, right? Like back then. And obviously, my family have always done fine. My dad's a successful businessman, and so is my brother. So I've always kind of looked up to them in that sense and wanted to give off a sense of success. And at the time, I think I was confusing success with, being on television, which ultimately doesn't really fulfill me too much, depending on what the project is. When I first met you, I was incredibly drawn to you. I loved your nature, and I think we kind of fell in love almost like straight away. We had like a really great friendship. I hadn't slept that night. I pulled an all-nighter, and I remember I was drinking whiskey just before getting in my cab to go to that thing.
It was a very early morning skiing session, by the way.
on a dry slope.
Yeah, on a dry slope.
Yeah.
So to have a glass of whiskey before doing that is...
No, it was horrendous. And I remember I was wearing tracksuit bottoms and slippers
Yes,
when
you
I
was.
arrived. It's first time I met Vogue
Yeah, it was.
as well. Well, I think we'd been in touch. I'd done the equivalent of DMing her on Twitter because I knew that
Saying,
Instagram didn't
looking forward
exist.
to seeing you.
Yeah, you know, it'd be great to meet
No,
you type
Instagram
thing.
did exist, but it was quite small back then.
Must have been about 2016. And yeah, I can remember her kind of reaction to me. Like she just thought she thought I was funny, but you know, I was a wild thing.
She had the total same reaction as I did. But yours then turned into a love story and ours turned into a friendship. Obviously, it's not going to turn into anything else. Well, it would have if you wanted it to. But she was definitely the same as me. Because you are a very warm person. And you wouldn't think that. And that's TV for you. Because watching Made in Chelsea, you would never think that you are as nice as you are when you meet you.
I think, yeah, going back to the Made in Chelsea thing, it was just like that show to me was just not, it wasn't really a real thing. Like the first couple of seasons were real to me. And then as soon as it started becoming quite heavily produced, I lost interest in a way where I just started playing a character to kind of avoid the reality element of it because it didn't feel real to me. But yeah, God, the jump was when we eventually went to Austria together. Like I mean, there wasn't really a sober moment for me.
No, you was drunk a lot, and I kind of looked up to you in a way. Are you older than me?
I think we're both 36.
You were both 36, but I think I have a younger energy than you do.
Pardon?
I looked at you as an older brother.
Well, I
think.
Yeah, maybe I look younger, obviously, but
Debatable.
you were.
But
I think, well, yeah. We definitely felt like brothers. I said that to Will.
Yeah.
I said that to Will yesterday. It was like a full-on brotherly thing.
Yeah.
And like you, me, and Vogue were the three
We were never apart.
amigos, basically.
We was never apart, which was hilarious. And you took the brunt of the banter, really.
Yeah.
Me and Vogue
because I was.
teamed up against you pretty much all the time.
Well, I didn't realise you could get your clothes washed.
What?
Can you remember? You know, there was a laundry service for the ski kit.
Was there?
Yeah.
I never washed mine once either. I never washed my clothes when I was in the jungle.
Yeah, but that's different. Like I smelled, I think, on the jump. Like Vogue keeps reminding me of it as well all these years later.
So
And I had a snotty nose as well.
you always had a snotty nose, but it was cold, so that's kind of, I'll let you off on that. But you did have quite a strong, potent smell of like alcohol and sweat.
I was probably drinking like 15 pints a
Mate,
day.
I have never done anything where because I could drink back in the day. Like, I loved to drink. When I met you, I was like, what is going on? Like, how is this guy functioning? And you was a functioning alcoholic, right?
For sure, yeah.
So you drink, even when we went skiing on our day off when we weren't supposed to, you drank from the moment we got up to the moment we got back.
Yeah.
And I think I had like 2 or 3 drinks, and I'm like, there was part of me like, do I try and keep up with this guy to prove to him that I can drink as well? Or do I just try and protect my own well-being? Like we're skiing on our own. And I just couldn't believe it. But saying that, Spence, you was very fun to be around as well. Like the alcohol can change people in certain ways, right? And you've said it's made you a worse person, but that's in like your productivity and stuff like that. You was never aggressive drunk. You was never an angry drunk. You was very fun.
Yeah, no, that was part of the problem.
Yeah.
So the ability to handle it was part of the issue, and it started in the city. Like when I was a city broker, we'd have 10 pints of Guinness every single day. I had to have 10 pints of Guinness every day for the first 30 days, for the first month, as part of my initiation to the business I was working for, and it was I'd be hammered because you wouldn't stop there necessarily. You do whatever else and drink whiskey afterwards.
Was that every day?
Every single day for the first 30 days, I had to have 10 pints of Guinness every day. So I would do 5 at lunch and 5 after work.
Guinness is like having a Sunday lunch as well. It's
Mate, I put on like 3 stone. Like I was a huge guy, right? And I'd fall asleep on the tube on the way home to my girlfriend, who ironically is the person that wanted me to get a serious job.
Right,
So all of a
okay.
sudden
So
I'm
you
like,
got
fine,
that.
I'll get the best job in broking, right? So I was able to land this like big job out of nowhere, basically, and then I just ended up getting hammered every day right? We weren't doing anything either. And it was kind of like, it was a bit mad, wild.
Do you feel like your drinking was kind of Harry Potter invisible cloak?
Yeah, I think it firstly, I don't feel a victim of alcoholism or anything like that. I felt like, broadly speaking, across all of my alcoholism, I had control.
Yeah.
I was choosing to drink, and I thought it was fun to do so.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it became an issue. Like, when I felt like I was drinking early in the day and on my own and lying about it and alienating loved ones, that's different. Like, at this period of my life, when I'm getting, drunk during the day every day, no, I enjoyed it, right? Like, nobody is trying to pretend that, I'm a victim of the system or, finance is terrible. But it became such a bad habit that it was quite hard to break the habit. Yeah. Similar to kind of, if you have the occasional cigarette and all of a sudden,
I was a smoker.
I was a casual smoker, 5 p.m. would come around, I'd have a couple of cigarettes.
I think I smoked on the jump.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you did actually.
Yeah, I think I smoked on the jump.
Ghastly habit.
Horrendous, but still, like, once you have been a smoker, like, I still have the odd ciggy now.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm out for a beer, and I don't drink half as much as what I used to. I reckon I did near enough a full year when I was training for my fight, no alcohol. Didn't miss it once, and I don't miss it now. I don't miss hangovers. They're horrendous. I want to wake up and be able to function like a normal human rather than being so groggy.
Yeah.
But I allow myself to have a drink now, and it doesn't, again, like you, it doesn't control me. I don't feel like I need to have 20 drinks to get steaming. I have one because I enjoy it. I enjoy a pint after footy, or I enjoy a glass of wine with dinner.
And I'm not anti-alcohol other than the fact that it's a toxin and bad for you, in the same way that I'm not anti-fried chicken, which is also shit for you. It's kind of, I think things in moderation are to be encouraged. I think complete teetotalism, unless you have an alcohol dependency issue, is probably not for everyone. I am sober most of the time, and I'm not saying it as a badge, like I'm a sober person. I just mean physically I'm sober most of the time. Like, I haven't, at the time of recording this, I haven't had an alcoholic drink in 5 weeks.
Right.
I just don't really drink, right? But like, I will have drinks, from time to time, and you kind of know that it's not great. For me, I kind of feel that there's an instant level of regret even when I'm doing it, which is why I don't do it that often.
Do you feel like if you go for a drink with people now, do they watch you as in to see if you're going to decombust and like get on it? Do you feel like I'm having this one drink? Do you think people are going, Spence, should you be having that?
No, I don't feel that way. I don't feel. I had to be teetotal for 3 years. So I had to do that. Yeah. So I was drinking every single day, often to excess, often early in the day, often lying about it. Like, Vogue would be like, "Have you had a drink today?" And I'd be like, "Why are you saying that?" Like, when I had. Yeah. It's a really shameful place to be. And it's quite a strong, once you realize that, and you realize you're wrong, and you realize that what you're doing isn't admirable or not even admirable. It's just not healthy. It's not good. It's unbecoming.
Yeah.
You are able then to kind of look at things and take action. And if you choose to be, you can exercise a bit of discipline, responsibility, and try and get yourself back on track. It's quite a difficult thing sometimes.
Yeah.
But I did that, and when teetotal, developed clean co, got really into it, got very sanctimonious. All of a sudden, like, anyone who's having a drink is a tosser. Like, I find it easier for me to put myself, and this is very honest, if you don't mind me saying, I find it easier for me to put myself on like a pedestal and to be a bit sanctimonious about certain things. It makes it easier for me.
Okay.
Rather than just like almost like having a little element of disgust to the behavior.
I'm doing this
helpful
now. Why
to me.
aren't you doing this kind of thing? Like, I'm now sober. Everyone should be sober.
Not everyone should be sober. Just I'm now sober, and I'm so delighted that I am sober that kind of I almost think less of you drinking type thing. But I know that's wrong. It's just helpful to me to be in that frame of mind where like drinking is wrong. Instead of like I can take it or leave it. Recently, you know, I was recently away with Vogue, and just one day I woke up. We didn't drink at all when we were away. I might have had 2 glasses of wine in the whole 3 days that we were away.
Yeah.
And just for whatever reason, I woke up one morning. I think it's largely to do with this project as well. I woke up and I just said, I'm not going to drink for a few months. Wasn't hungover.
Yeah.
Wasn't intoxicated.
Yeah.
There was no reason for it. I just thought, I want to be as clear-minded as I can possibly be for the next few months so that I can develop this brand and make a show that is really meaningful, that can help people, where I can invest loads of time and energy into something and it just to consume me a bit. Yeah. Like, I'm an addictive person. So, like, if I want to build a brand, it becomes my life. Like I don't do it by half. Like, this to me is a very serious thing now. I want this.
I know. I get messages at like 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then a phone call at 6 o'clock when I'm laid in bed, like trying to get my kid back to sleep for at least an hour.
Well, I want
and
you
you're
to
going,
be.
answer your phone, answer your phone.
I need you to be excited, mate.
I'm super excited, but not at 6 o'clock in the morning and not at 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
When you seem to want to call.
I'm excited all the time about it.
No, and that's brilliant. And I have been very excited the more it's come. Because this started, 4 months ago?
This for me began when I was running the 30 marathons in the desert. And like, obviously I had so much time to just think, and like, you're in your own head. Like, at the end, the hardest part about that challenge was camp, right? Like, obviously you've got the challenge of the 30 marathons, but you also have 18 hours a day in camp. Right. And a lot of the time there was no phone network. There's no nothing. It's boiling hot. Like you're quite uncomfortable. So you end up just in quite deep thought. And I realized I care very little about entertaining people, and I've got 3 entertainment shows, you know, and I want to see if the quality of the stuff that I make going forwards after, thankfully, being successful in that challenge could be more in line with helping people realize their potential, as I'm only just beginning to do, right? Like it's my opinion that everyone has like incredible amounts of untapped potential.
100%.
And that's where this came from. And you're someone that I've always looked at as having this incredible ability to do cool things. And you're also you're like me, you're a normal person that can do cool things. Yeah. And I thought we could have amazing conversations about it. It's kind of where the idea came from. When I first met you, though, I just thought like your energy was wild. Like, I just loved it. It was so interesting and exciting to me that you could be that way all of the time. Like, I've never seen you even remotely bothered by anything. Like you laugh at everything. You always keep the energy up. And I've actually, like, this is a really important moment for me and Untapped, I think, because deep down, I've known, I think, whether it be conscious or subconscious, that you and I should do something together at some point.
Yeah.
The jump was just all wrong. How I won that thing's mental.
And you beat an Olympian.
Yeah, and the rest.
That is great. Yeah, but the Olympian.
Oh, in the final.
Yeah.
God, I'd never live it down if.
But I think I would have won.
Yeah, but I agree. No. So well, like, we would have been the finalists.
We would have been disgusted to compete against each other.
Mate, I was worried about it.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, this is what I mean about your energy. So like, I was up against like elite level athletes, right? Like Olympians and like England and Welsh rugby players and all kinds of people who've spent their lives playing sport.
Bradley Wiggins.
I'm pissed every day, right? Like on my 15th pint. Yeah. And like, they're not, by the way. They're like taking it quite seriously.
They're going to bed well early.
They're going to bed. And the biggest worry for me, and I was thinking this in the gym this morning, in that show, was you, for me.
Yeah.
You were a reserve, so you weren't actually in it. But like, at the time that Bradley injured himself, and it was looking like you were going to fill in for him, I was like, oh, that's annoying.
He was worried about me coming in.
No, I was like, oh, that's adding like another potential winner to the mix for sure.
Yeah.
Like, because I was looking around thinking like, you know, like, I'm a very confident person anyway. But
you could ski very well.
I was looking around thinking that, you know, I've got half a chance here.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even the skiing ability. It's your ability to tackle to go down a ski jump. All of us were terrified of the ski jump, to be fair. Like it's actually, it looks bullshit when you watch it. It's not bullshit.
It's
like
terrifying.
it's massive.
Yeah,
it's massive. And you come down it quite fast. And once you're in the rails, you can't get out.
No.
And unless you jump, you catch the tip.
You're gone.
And it's honestly, it's quite scary. And you are like me in the sense that we understand that unless you fling yourself into something, it won't go well. And you're someone that looks at, a massive challenge and just goes, right, I'm up for that.
Yeah.
And that is threatening to anyone who's competitive.
Yeah, I think that's just come from being a brother, being a middle brother, and wanting to win at everything I do. But also my dad used to say to me, like, if you do something, just do it at 100%.
We are so excited to announce that Whoop is on board as a partner of the Untapped podcast. Whoop is a wearable health and fitness coach that provides you with feedback and actionable insights into your sleep, recovery, training, stress, and overall health, and it empowers you to be the best version of yourself. I love it in particular for the sleep data that it provides. It's really accurate. So like the minute you fall asleep, it knows that you're asleep. It gives you data. It lets you know basically how hard to push yourself if you're training a lot like me. If you are interested in taking control of your health and fitness so that you can excel in all aspects of your life, you've got to check out Whoop. Go to join.whoop.com/untapped to try Whoop for free for 30 days today.
I can never be told by my dad that he's proud. And I think everything I do is for acceptance from other people because I can't get my dad to tell me that I'm doing well. And in a very strange way, that's so depressing looking at it like that. But I want to prove to people that I'm good enough at things and I can do things that I put my mind to because that's how my dad raised me to do. But it's really depressing knowing that the only person that won't ever be able to tell me that I've done well is my dad now.
When did you lose your dad?
20. He never saw me on TV, which I'm not too bothered about. Like, he'd probably thought I was pretty cringy. Everything I've done has not been for me. It's really strange saying that out loud. Everything I've done has not been for me. It's been for acceptance. But I can't get acceptance from my dad, which is just this violent, vicious circle of me going round and round and round, seeking this acceptance from people that I can't get from the one person that I need it from. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to be a professional footballer. My dad wanted me to be a professional footballer. I played a good standard of football. I came home and when I was 19, 20, just before my dad passed. And then he never got to see me have a boxing match, have a cage fight, do a marathon, raise money for charity, do these great shows that I've been so lucky to do. And I've done them all because I wanted him to say, well done. And I think now I'm a dad, fitness and stuff is a reason for me to stay as healthy as I can so Leo don't go through that. Because I think it has messed me up a little bit in a way. Like, my dad obviously told me he was proud of me when I was younger. Like, I'm not saying my dad was like a horrendous man who never told, well done, son. He's like, if you don't make it as a footballer, I'm never talking to you. He wasn't that guy. He told me he's proud of me. He hugged me. But I think as I've gone on and not being able to hear it, when I was 18, 19, before my dad passed, even 16 at college and stuff, I was I was on the dole. I was in out of jobs. I was the guy that had all the attributes to make it in whatever I tried to do. Potential, but absolutely no get up and go. None whatsoever. I was happy to be the guy that everyone thought was funny, who would do stupid stuff if you told him to, make people laugh. And that's how I gained my recognition from people and my acceptance from people, is by being the guy that would stay out the latest on a night out, who would do stupid things. And my dad saw that a little bit, and he was probably thinking, like, Jake will change, and I did eventually, but he never got to see that. He saw me play football in Australia. He didn't see me because he was in England, but he knew that I went over to do that. And I think that's the proudest he had been of me, to think that I was willing to uproot at quite a young age, move to Australia and try give football an actual go. And then eventually having to come home because my dad got so poorly and I didn't want to be away from my dad when my dad passed. SAS Who Dares Wins, right? I went on that show to prove to men like my dad. My dad was a bit of a bloke, do you know what I mean? Skinhead, covered in tattoos, was on the doors, was a bricklayer. I'm not like that. I don't know if you've seen my earrings and my fake teeth and my hair transplant, but I'm not like that. But I can be like that mentally. I'm strong-willed and strong-minded. I did SAS to prove to people like my dad, and that was the closest I was going to get to my dad accepting what I'd become like, by doing SAS and showing people, fuck me, he actually does not give in.
Do you see your dad as a, obviously talking about him there has made you emotional, but do you see that as a driver of strength in your life now?
100%. I see losing my dad, and I'd say more so losing Oliver. So Oliver was my brother. He passed away when he was 19 years old. Everything I do now is they're always in the back of my mind. Don't give up. Why do you want to go run a marathon, Jake? Because I can. Oliver can't. My dad can't. They're not here anymore. And I think we're all so privileged to be waking up and breathing that we need to be doing these things to keep us moving, to keep us growing. And that's the reason why I do it. And they are such a driving force in my life, as much as my kids now. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're such a driving force. And I do get emotional talking about it. I bang on about my brother and my dad all the time because I love talking about them because they make me feel strong. Do you know what I mean? And I don't mind how much I miss them. I don't mind that. And I don't mind getting upset talking about them because I'm never going to be all right with me dad dying. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I was, that'd be a weird thing to do. Like, I'm not bothered anymore.
Do you feel like your dad can see you now?
I like to think he can. I like to think he has watched everything I've done. Not so much in watching me fight or run, more so now watching me be a dad. You said I was going to cry today. I feel like I always cry, but again, my dad was like the biggest meathead, skinhead, right? He used to sit reading the newspaper and it used to be shuddering like this. And I'm like, and he's reading people's obituaries and crying his eyes out because he felt such emotion towards those people passing away. And I think
he didn't know them.
Didn't know them, but he'd cry his eyes out.
I'm jealous.
When was the last time you cried?
It's so rare that I cry.
Is it?
Yeah, it's so rare. And it's never for good reason either. It's just random sometimes.
Mate, I cry at everything.
I don't cry at all. So it's funny. Ferg and I spoke about this, that I literally, it's like I have an inability to cry. Like, I haven't cried at the birth of any of our kids. It's not because I'm not moved by the experience. I'm very moved by the experience. I just don't physically cry. I cried when I came back from the Jungle Ultra, right? I had basically, I don't think I have referred to it as a stress fracture in my right ankle, but I actually don't think it was a stress fracture. It was very swollen. It was very, what's it called? Infected. Very infected. Big heel. I could barely get my shoe on. Like, I couldn't really move my heel. And I did 82 kilometers on the last day. And it was just this big, grueling, horrific. I couldn't move properly. Right? I couldn't put weight through my foot. So actually being in the jungle was helpful. Being on the tarmac was just like every single step was extreme levels of pain, right? But did it obviously because it's the last day of this thing and I'm, you need so far away from home, and it's kind of, if you pull the ripcord there, then what are you doing with yourself? So I'm out there doing it. Fine, finished. Body went into shock. Like it was 26 degrees Celsius, but I needed like a couple of hoodies and one of those sheets, and I was like in full kind of like, I knew it was going to happen as well. It happened as soon as I crossed the finish line. I knew it was going to happen with about a kilometer left to go. I could feel it coming because I've had it a few times. And I was like, oh, just get to the end, you know, like as if it happens before the end, you're actually physically not going to be able to move the final bit of distance.
Yeah.
So got to the end, collapsed, had this big problem for, you know, whatever, call it 25 minutes, half an hour, had a pizza, grand, no problem. And then like got on the plane to go home a couple of days later. And I call it an emotional breakthrough, not breakdown. Although to anyone looking, it certainly looks like a breakdown, I think.
No.
If I just wasn't ready for this thing, but thought I'd tackle it anyway. And then I came back on this flight and I got into my seat and literally I was thinking about Mike a lot, my brother that passed away, in the lead up to this event and during the event. I find that my thoughts are particularly prominent around him and his life and who he was when I'm in like miserable pain. Mm-hmm. It's probably the reason that I'm drawn to keep going back to the miserable pain thing because I feel so close to him. Mm-hmm. And literally I burst into tears, but it was wailing, like I couldn't wait for the plane to take off so it could mask the sound of it. Like the bloke sat next to me was just like, he couldn't really, like I had that screen up, thank God. I had this sheet, like the thing over my head and I was like screaming, crying for like 15 minutes. I don't know what it was, uncontrollable. Like, and it was like,
did it feel good?
Yeah, felt amazing. It's like all of the feelings from all of these years, because I had so much anger and resentment around Mike's death when I was a teenager. Like, it's not the reason I partied so hard or abused alcohol so much. Like it might be, but I hate pinning that on him. It's not. It's me that did that.
Yeah.
But like, I had a huge amount of anger around it because to me as a kid, it sounded so avoidable. This death, right? I was just like, why couldn't someone have just fucking looked after him? You know, like he's there as a 21-year-old, 22-year-old. Look after him, you know, and then you learn that, you know, things aren't quite that easy up there. But I grew up thinking that it was just completely avoidable. And it was almost like all of that pent up anger, resentment, and emotion was released on this flight. I won't even try and replicate that. Like, I wouldn't be able to. It was full on wailing. And I've never had that. That was the last time. I've not cried since. And I haven't cried before that. Like, you know, the last time I cried before that was probably when I was watching The Lion King as a kid or something.
Were your parents emotional? Did you ever see your dad cry?
God, no. Like the complete opposite.
Okay.
As a kid, I don't think you pay too much attention to, you know, your position, I suppose. But I felt very loved, and we had a wonderful time. There was no room for weakness of any kind, though, like at all. So it was, you know, if I were to fall off my bike and really hurt myself and start crying, it would be like, crying's not going to help you. Get up, you know, dust yourself off, get back on. You know, it was like, it wasn't even a discussion as to like, is your knee broken?
Quite traditional. Is your leg broke?
Nothing. Yeah. And my dad's favorite joke was like, I hope you didn't dent the driveway. Right. You know, like it was a full on like, well, actually, I'm really badly hurt. And it's like, well, you'll be fine.
It's so hard to think back and think of like me crying as a kid and whether or not my dad ever said like, you don't cry. I'm sure my dad just used to say like crying was fine.
Yeah.
Crying's not.
No,
and I do it with Leo when he falls over. I make a joke and go, oh, I think you've put a hole in the floor. That's so funny you say that because I say that to him. Oh, look, you broke the cupboard when he like stubs his knee on it. And he goes, and he's actually happy. He's like, oh, actually, I'm really strong. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I say to him all the time, it's fine to get upset. Like for me, being upset is not a sign of weakness at all. It's a sign of you're very in touch with your emotions and you know how you feel in that exact moment. Do I wish that I didn't cry over everything? Yeah, a little bit. But also, I can guarantee a guy who's never cried in the past 10 years, I could still say to him, let's go for a cage fight. And he'd go,
can I just, for the record, I'd hate to have a cage fight with you. I was profoundly disappointed with myself and full of shame and regret. And I knew deep down, obviously, that my drinking had lost its way and that I had no control, really. I was drinking, as I said, early in the day, and I'd walk past the liquor cabinet, and if no one was around, I'd have a quick shot of whiskey or vodka or something straight out of the bottle early. I'd turn up to meetings, not drunk because I was highly functional, but I'd turn up to meetings stinking of alcohol, wouldn't get the job. I'd blame other people. Wasn't very kind to my agent before Louisa. Everything was his fault, you know. And I felt deeply, deeply disappointed in myself and my life. I'd always seen myself as having potential, always, as a kid. Always thought I could make something of my life. Always thought I could be someone that I want to be. And that was just that was becoming just a fantasy. Like I was nowhere near any of that. The last night that I drank in that way, I drained a bottle of whiskey, called a friend to come spend time with me. They arrived and just basically put me straight to bed. I remember feeling really embarrassed by that. Like literally they came over and they were like, mate, like,
I'm going to put you down.
you're in bits, like you need to go to bed. And I was just like, mate, it's fine, like, let's stay up. And like they were just like, oh mate, like, you know, you have to go to bed. Woke up the next day, said, right, I'm never drinking again. Then I did a long period of abstinence, and now I have a completely different relationship with alcohol. But shame was a massive driver for me. Running away from my former self is something that I still have in spades.
Yeah.
So like my behavior now is pretty much determined by what that person can't do, right? So like I look at myself, my former self, and I compete with that person even though it's a landslide, right? So I'll do things now just to remind myself that
He would
I
have never
am,
been able to do
that they can't do that, he can't do that, he's a tosser, I'm, you know, who I am.
Are you proud of who you are now?
Yeah. And actually I was just going to say that feeling, that word proud and pride in general is such a powerful emotion. It's like love, and it's misused actually in the same way that love is. Oh, I love this, I love that. Do you love it, or are you just saying you love it? You know, like, do you love this person, or do you just feel like you should love this person? You know, like it's a big deal, right? Love, pride, being proud of someone. And I became truly proud of myself in the Wadi Rum desert. Like towards the end of this thing, there was a cataclysmic shift in my life, right? Like I was all of a sudden giving interviews to Sky Sports, CNN, you know, and I could feel and see
People
it.
looking at you differently.
This is now like, I'm just being very candid with you and our listeners, I suppose.
This is going out.
Yeah. No, I keep remembering that. No, but I'm just taking you on a.
But it's almost nice to be able to have that chat and not think about anyone else listening. Like
I'm taking you on a personal thing now that, you know, I was about to say I kind of wouldn't repeat in public, but obviously this is going out, and whatever. Like, I'm in the zone with you.
Go. Yeah.
People see me differently.
Yeah.
And like I was treated differently. And it was a really powerful thing for me because I've wanted to be taken seriously for a long time. And my actions have never deserved that, right? And when I'm being interviewed by incredible people and getting messages from legends in sport that I look up to, going like, mate, what you did is amazing. That for me was the most proud I've ever been of myself. And it was a really palpable feeling of what should I do with my life now to do more of, to feel more of this, and how can I bottle this and give it to other people? And like, I'm just a normal dude. A few years ago, I was a drunk, overweight, grey, sweaty animal, right? Who couldn't run a lap of Battersea Park without hurting his knee or whinging or complaining. And you know, I couldn't lift 70 kilos, you know, and now I'm a completely different deal. And I believe that is possible of anyone. And that is the entire point of this show. And making people realize that they have this untapped side to them if they want to access it. And I'm not suggesting that everyone needs to wake up and want to be an enhanced version of their former self. But all of the change in my life has been driven by a desire to run away from who I was. How do you? How do you feel about yourself? So when you think of yourself, and Jake Quickenden, and all
I'm
the
the
stuff
biggest
you've done,
critic of myself in the world.
but that's good. What do you see? Are you regretful of some of the stuff you've done, or are you embarrassed?
I don't
of
regret
stuff,
anything.
No,
You can't regret anything. because
You can't regret stuff in the
they've
sense that
made
it's
you.
led us to here, but you can look back at things. I think I find that, and I'm not criticizing you, but I find that like, oh, I live with absolutely no regrets thing to be
Oh, of course
interesting.
there's things I
because
regret.
because obviously I regret lots of things that I've done.
Yeah.
But like I'm also grateful that you know they happen so that I can be here. You know?
100%. That's exactly how I look at things. Okay. Do I regret going on any shows? No, because I feel like we don't know how long we are going to be on this earth. So we may as well try anything and everything and do things that put us outside our comfort zone and do that show and do that. And it's all hopefully going to lead to a bigger picture. I am just really wanting my bigger picture to happen now. And I think it will happen because I know what I'm like as a person, but it can be
What do
quite
you want your bigger picture to be?
I wanna be an actor or a presenter. It used to be a musician. But I love talking. I love meeting people. I feel like I can be quite a warm person to people when they meet, and people open up automatically to me because I'm quite an open person myself. The acting world, what I've got into doing shows, doing musicals and plays, I've learned from really good actors, and it's made me realise that I enjoy doing it a lot. Is it a good job to have when you hate rejection? Probably not, because I've put in 15 self-tapes since last year and got one job. Do you know what I mean? And that's hard to take because with a reality show, you get the show because of your personality.
Yeah.
With acting, you don't get it because of your personality. Nobody gives a shit who you are.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah,
care
the
that I did
talent.
X Factor in 2014. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So it can be quite a daunting thing
More
being rejected.
Almost more fulfilling when you get it though. Because you know that
100%.
you're being judged on your talent.
100% more fulfilling, but always every show that I've gone into now, I've just finished the Full Monty last year. I am always still trying to prove myself because my thought process is people think I got this job because I've done reality shows and I've got a fair few followers. So I go into that so willing to learn and get better. And I love that about me. I'm always wanting to change people's perspectives, and I hope people come to watch and they leave and they go, actually, you was a good actor. That's what you want.
Does it matter to you what people think of you? How come? Why do you think that is? I'm not saying I haven't answered the question myself. I'm just like, why do you suppose it is?
I think that comes from, I would have, before you asked me this question a couple of years ago, I go, no, I don't care what anyone thinks. Who gives a shit? Like, I am me. I am me. It's a lie now because I do want people to think of me as a good role model. We don't have many good role models for kids growing up anymore. I do want people to think I'm a hard worker, a nice person. You're always going to get people not thinking that. No matter what, you can't please everybody. But I think it comes from acceptance. I just want to be accepted in something. And I still haven't found what I have been accepted in. Whether or not it's acting, music, presenting, I still am not where I want to be. So I think it comes from acceptance, and I just want to be accepted by someone. I just want somebody to go, he's really good at that. Probably comes from that my dad can't tell me, you know?
Well, if it's any consolation, I think you're very good at this.
Thank you. What about you? Because I feel like you're probably a lot different to me in that you actually don't care what people think of you.
I think that's a less mature way of looking at things. I think it's important to care about how you're perceived by people. It's part of the brand, you know. Like I think we're public-facing people, so if ultimately everything you put out pisses people off, that's not great, right? You know, it's kind of. I think I never used to care, but I was too stupid to not.
Same as me.
You know, and I was like, it didn't matter to me because there was no consideration to any of it.
Yeah.
You know, like I was just a wrecking ball in Made in Chelsea.
Yeah.
Couldn't have given a shit what harm it was causing to other people.
When you was
or
upsetting
whatever.
people on that show, did you feel any upset yourself? Did you feel like, oh God, I feel a bit bad? Or did you just think, fuck it, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get to where I want to be. And like you say, be a bit of a wrecking ball.
I didn't see a lot of it as real. Like the real me has never enjoyed conflict. I'm not a confrontational person. if I hear somebody said something behind my back, I'm not going to turn up to your house and ask. Like, I don't care. Like I'm not. It's not important to me unless it's somebody that I really care about or has come out of left field. You know, I probably have 3 friends that I care about, and I mean that like not to. If you're listening to this, it's not that I don't care about other people. Like, I mean that I jump in front of a car for outside of my family. I like that. Like I'm quite a focused, driven person. I'm not that interested in being remarkably social and stuff.
That comes as you get older, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And I think when you have kids, it does impact a massive change in you, because I look at all the mistakes I made growing up and how lazy I could be, and the fact that I was on the dole and I probably didn't make anyone proud of me until I was probably in my late 20s. Do you know what I mean? That's crazy.
I'm finding that the more you lose all of the noise around you and really channel a bit of focus into something that you feel really matters, that's an amazing place to be professionally. Yeah. Like I had it with CleanCo, I have it with this now, where like, you know, I want this show to do all the things that I know it can do, you know, and I think it can be a really special thing. So I'm investing tons of time and energy into it, and it feels good. It's a fulfilling thing, and I hope we can do this together
100%, for.
I see myself doing this for, you know, till I'm old. Like, you know, it's kind of I see most podcasts as having a time frame on them. Yeah. Like if I'm cracking gags, like it's a fun show that's entertaining. I'll give it 5 years. 3 years, depending on its success, you know, and like and the money that it makes and whatever else. This I see as an extension of who I want to be and who I am, right? So I don't see this ending ever, potentially. You know, obviously I'm going to die at some point, but you know, I see this as being, you know, you look at great podcasts like Rich Roll and, you know, Joe Rogan, whatever you may think of him, but as a show, you know what I mean? And they just roll on and on and on and on because they love it, you know, and that for me is what this can be. I'm really excited about it. Well, that was nice.
That was lovely,
wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's only up from here.
I'm very excited about delivering the rest of this series with you, my brother.
I'm very privileged and humbled that you asked me to do this. So thank you, I appreciate it.
That's incredibly kind. If you enjoyed this episode of Untapped, please drop us 5 stars in a review. It helps other people find us. We are a new show. If you'd like to contact us directly, we have a WhatsApp number in the show notes and also other ways of contacting us here at Untapped. We would love to hear from you. If there's anything of yours that you'd like us to share on the next episode, again, please be in touch. We would like to hear inspiring stories from you. Thanks again for listening. We will see you next week. My entire journey on Untapped is being fueled by the world-leading supplement brand Heights. Day in, day out, through ups and downs, whether I'm at my desk with my kids, training, or in the desert. When it comes to achieving peak performance, I've learned that having great nutrition is crucial. It is, after all, the foundation of everything. I have been a supplement skeptic all of my life, but when I entered the desert, I knew that I needed that little extra help to get my Guinness World Record. I chose Heights, recommended by the experts on my team, and it's supported by over 700 scientific studies. I knew I could trust them, and it worked. Made by doctors and dietitians, their magnesium is a clean and powerful supplement. It not only helps with my sleep on a nightly basis, but also with my recovery. I would highly recommend that you try them for yourselves. Taken by over 103,000 high performers, including top international sports teams, Olympians, and world record holders like myself. Why don't you give them a go? Get 20% off your first subscription at heights.com/untapped or use code UT20 at checkout.